Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live on tape delay in Mackey Arena following Purdue's 90-72 win over USC. You losers are spending your Friday night with me once again, which I would not tell anyone about. Thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel for your support. As always, we appreciate it very much. I'm going to make this quick. These have been going way too long. They just have. And I say this all the time. It's becoming a little bit of a running joke that I just can't stop talking. It is correct that I can't stop talking, but I'm going to make a concerted effort to actually stop talking. So Purdue wins 90-72 over USC. Have I mentioned how stupid it is that these teams are in the Big Ten in basketball? I probably have. Let's consider that covered. Anyway, I'm sure USC had a wonderful time here in Lafayette, West Lafayette, for the last 3 days, just kind of hanging out. Which is what I assume they did. I don't know when they got here. I don't know what they did while they were here other than practice. But this is just so bizarre. And you kind of wondered, what would USC, how would it respond to this, all of this behind me? These West Coast programs, the basketball out there is fine. Has been historically, but these guys are used to playing at Washington State. Well, I actually shouldn't say this anymore because all these guys are transfers, so it's not like players stay on the same team from year one to year two anymore. But this program, is used to playing at Washington State. It's used to playing at Stanford, and it's just not like this out there. We were out in Washington. I was out at Washington, Oregon, a couple weeks ago, and it's just an entirely different basketball culture out there. And you kind of wonder what UCLA is kind of a Super Bowl game for a lot of people. Not a Super Bowl, but a really high-end game for a lot of people. They play a big-time non-conference schedule. They play on other people's home floors. So I'm sure UCLA, as a program, is sort of more accustomed to this sort of thing, but the USCs and the Oregons and the Washingtons, when they come to places like this, or Maryland, or Michigan State, or Indiana, when they're not booing their coach, when they're cheering their team and not booing their coach, Illinois on the right day, when Illinois is good and the game doesn't start at noon, I think this is going to be a whole other world for them. And I don't know if that was a big deal for USC in this game. Desmond Claude not playing was probably a good game, though, or a big part of this. For a big deal for them, I should say. Not like Wesley Yates didn't go off for 30 in his place, but Purdue just overmatched them from the get-go, and it was Braden Smith being great again. It was Trey Kaufman-Renn being even greater. Dominating on both ends of the floor, on offense especially, but also on the glass in general. Fletcher Lawyer hitting runners, a couple of threes, and they just snowed USC under. And I am using that term for a reason, because this weather out here is not what these guys are accustomed to. Anyway. Purdue just really overwhelmed USC from the get-go, as seemed very possible. Purdue's not going to lose another game here, I don't think. It's shocking that they lost one, and there's a very, very good reason why they lost that one. A very legitimate reason, I should say. Maybe not a good reason, but a legitimate one why they lost that game. We have rehashed that topic over and over again, so we will put that in the rear view and kind of move on. Offense came pretty easy for Purdue. It seemed like to start the game, and one of the few blemishes on this game for Purdue was just they seemed content to – I shouldn't say they seemed content to. They fell into a place where they were just trading baskets with USC. They let USC get in some offensive rhythm, and for a while there it was just back and forth, very much like the Iowa game the other night where they're just trading baskets. That's not ideal. Iowa did that because that's what Iowa does. They were just racing up and down the floor to shoot as quick as possible. They were going to get numbers whoever they played against on that night with the way that team is constructed, with how they play. USC, was got in some measure of rhythm off the dribble. They were making some pull-up twos, the shots that theoretically you'd want teams taking. It's kind of what they play for. And USC got some offensive traction there in the first half, but they couldn't stop Purdue, so it was just kind of a shootout. Not ideal for Purdue. The offense was the good part. The defense was the not so great part. But Purdue holds them to 72 points, which is not a small number. But when you're scoring 90, obviously that's very much a winnable number. Purdue didn't force a ton of turnovers, but they scored on all of them. It seemed like, which is part of defense. And they just did a great job with possessions. Purdue only turned the ball over 10 times. 10 times. They turned the ball over 10 times. That's not ideal, but that's more than acceptable, especially against a team that's big, athletic, aggressive, and was going to do everything under the sun defensively, because they have a coach who's good at what he does, but he's also very manic and very all over the place, and he is a Tom Crean in the sense that he will just tear everything up one day, do something completely different the next day, and Purdue had to be ready for anything, and that nothing really stuck. They did this 2-3 zone most of the game, and Purdue did a pretty good job. I shouldn't say a pretty good job. They shot so Purdue only finishes at 50% for the game, but they were at 67% in the first half. That's, for you math majors out there, that's for every 3 shots Purdue took, they made 2 of them. Obviously, that's very good. The second half, they shoot 36%. Didn't really matter all that much. The last 10 minutes of this game were a formality. I'm sure USC was looking forward to getting back on its plane. Purdue was looking to just kind of run out the clock. So the final numbers skew the reality of the game, but Purdue led this by as many as 26 points. So you look at this as an 18-point win. That very easily could have been a 30-point win. I think Purdue was up 12 at halftime, when that very easily could have been a 20 to 25-point halftime margin. That's how one-sided this game was early on. There were a couple of bounces, a couple of loose balls around both rims that if Purdue just grasps the ball and falls on it, I think that denies USC a handful of points and thus changes the margin at half considerably, and then probably changes the final margin considerably. But it doesn't matter. I'm just playing the game back in my head right now out loud. So just ignore all the stuff I say that doesn't matter. I think Purdue did a really good job offensively, pushing in transition, setting the pace of this game, which you don't necessarily expect against a team that plays through the post as much as Purdue does, a team that plays in ball screens as much as Purdue does in the half court, and against a team that is probably going to be more up-tempo than not under Eric Musselman, and has athletes and has size and has a lot of wings and people who are going to be more adept to run the floor. Purdue was the pace setter in this game. I thought Purdue largely was, I shouldn't say the pace setter at Iowa, but they were every bit the pace setter as Iowa, when Iowa's only intention in that game was to be the pace setter. Purdue can play really fast. When you have the best point guard in America who can play at 100 miles an hour the way Braden Smith can, you can very easily be whatever you need to be on a possession-to-possession basis, on a game-to-game basis, and so on and so forth. But Braden Smith just makes all things possible for this Purdue team. So does Trey Kaufman-Wren. I think, I'm going to keep bragging about being his only preseason first-team All-Big Ten vote, because I'm going to celebrate my wins. This was clearly a win. I think we should all pat ourselves on the back when we do good, just for our mental health, our self-esteem, whatever it might be. I'm going to celebrate my wins. And I was the only person to vote him first-team All-Big Ten in the preseason, because I knew this was coming. Once you moved a player this good into the usage that he was going to get at Purdue this year, this was bound to happen. This is not a good season he's having. This is not a breakout season he's having. This is a great season he's having. This is what Purdue knew it was getting as soon as he ascended into this usage. And I think it speaks volumes about him that he was willing to wait out Ross-Ade. A lot of guys would have been like, all right, I'm this good. I need to do this right now as a freshman, a redshirt freshman, whatever it might be. In his case, maybe he was hurt, so sorry I'm talking in circles here. But I think it bears mentioning that this was a guy who's in his fourth year in the program, who's only now getting his opportunity to be this sort of player. This is not modern college basketball anymore, right? This is not, I wait till year 4 to be a player. Now, everything changed mid-career for Trey Kaufman-Renn, so extrapolating current realities onto all of his career is probably a little bit inappropriate, but he is an All-American. I mean, he is playing at an All-American level. And he's playing like a guy who now knows how good he is. He's playing like a veteran. He's reading and reacting to things that happen around him as that very important role at Purdue. Braden Smith is Purdue's most important decision maker. Their second most important decision maker, by and large, is going to be their post player, because that's the person, when that player is good, they have to see what's coming. They have to expect what's coming. They have to react to it, and they have to make the right play. And you saw at Iowa in the second half what Kaufman-Renn did when Iowa actually started trying to stop him. That's his growth as a player. He makes 8 of 9 at the foul line, was 8 for 8 at one point. Seems to be in a rhythm there. You don't necessarily want to jinx that. Not that I have a horse in the race, but it was also the physical tone setter in this game, which is probably not what you think of when you think of Trey Kaufman-Renn, because he's such a savvy and skilled guy. But he was killing people in this game. Really physical. He bully-balled Umar Ballo a couple games ago. Say that 10 times fast. Bully-balled Ballo. I'm going to keep going back to that. But no, he was the physical aggressor. He was the physical tone setter. I thought he rebounded angry. When you look at some of those offensive rebounds he got largely with one arm, I thought he was attacking the ball. What did the ball do to him? I really don't know, but he was rebounding with a Caleb Swanigan sort of edge to him. He's not an angry guy. He's a really competitive guy, but he's not he's not that obnoxious guy. But I thought he was rebounding angry. I thought he was playing for contact. He was playing through contact. He was playing despite contact. He drew 11 fouls, which is his Ross-Ade number. And as I mentioned earlier, he made his free throws. So it's especially important when the free throws go in. But 24 and 10 from him, 8 and 9 from the foul line, 8 of 12 from the floor. He's shooting 60% this season. That's a Ross-Ade number. And Kaufman-Renn's doing it on a lot less dunks. So that's the efficiency of this is a huge part of it. Turnovers are part of efficiency. He's done a pretty good job. He had no turnovers in this game. Turnovers are going to come and go. There's no way around it at that position, but he's kept it in check. It's been perfectly reasonable. So, unbelievable season Trey Kaufman-Renn's having. One that nobody could have seen coming except for this guy right here. I'm pointing to me. Caleb Furst. It bears mentioning Caleb Furst is this year's turn taker in the annual tradition at Purdue of that year's seniors becoming Purdue's all-time winningest player or all-time winningest class. In Furst's case, remember, he came in with Kaufman-Renn and Brian Waddell. Both of those guys redshirted. So Caleb Furst is the last man standing as a true senior in this program and has now been, don't ask me what the number is because I have no idea. I just know this because somebody said it in the media room. He's now been part of more wins at Purdue than any player in program history. Next year, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Renn. I don't know where they are, but chances are they're going to be right in that conversation as well. It's going to be like the thing where every year that year's best players It's just a parade of little commemorative white basketballs. Every game has some sort of pregame ceremony, pregame presentation, and these souvenir basketballs get rolled out to be presented to these great players Purdue's had. And that'll be next year too. It'll be every single game next year. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman ran. Here's your 2,000 points. I don't know if anybody's getting there. Braden Smith's case, here's your 10,000 assists. Fletcher Lawyer will get his 1,500 points, whatever it is. Trey Kaufman-Renn will get his 1,500 points, whatever it might be. I don't even pay attention to these things because they just blur together. But they'll also probably become the winningest class in Purdue history. I'd have to assume. So, hey, that's what I got here from Purdue's 90-72 win over a team that should not be in the Big Ten in basketball, but is anyway, along with Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. This is so silly. You will have to pardon me for beating this horse to death. It died many, many months ago, but I'm not going to let it decompose in peace. I'm going to keep bringing it up because I think it's absurd. And I think that what's the harm in continuing to remind people? So that's what I got. I just used the word decompose in a rap video for the first time ever. So very proud of myself. I can check that off my box. So 90-72 Purdue. I will talk to you guys again whenever this next game is. It's one game at a time for me. Michigan, I think, maybe. So thank you to the Premium Club Hotel for your support. As always, we appreciate it very much. I'm sure USC would have loved to have holed up in the Premium Club Hotel for this week they spent in Indiana and Illinois, which I guess I'll call Illiana. I don't know if that's a socially a mainstream accepted word, Illiana, but that's what I'm going with. So I hope USC enjoyed their time at the Tippecanoe Mall while they were here. All right, I am rambling now. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. And thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. And I'll talk to you guys again here in a couple of days. So thanks, everybody.